New research being made public may revolutionize the way that brain injury patients are treated. Doctors have found a British woman unconscious after an accident is aware of her surroundings and seems to be able to respond to what people are saying to her. As you can imagine, this has stunned the medical world, and as you might also imagine, it's both awe-inspiring and just a little terrifying, too. 360 MD Sanjay Gupta reports.
It is an unimaginable nightmare. Trapped inside your own brain. No way to talk, no way to communicate, written off as nearly dead. For 5 months, a 23-year-old Englishwoman lay in what her doctors called a vegetative state. But Cambridge researchers decided to take a closer look and were stunned by what they found.
Not only was she able to hear and understand speech, but that she was able to carry out simple tasks in her head. It's clear to us that she was consciously aware of herself and what was going on around her.
A patient in a vegetative state will sleep and wake regularly, show some eye movements, but have no discernible response to his or her environment.
This band of cortex here.
Armed with findings from a functional MRI scan, Dr. Adrian Owen thinks a lot more is going on, and he is shattering many long-held beliefs about the vegetative state.
What we've shown here for the first time is that we can detect awareness.
Owen's team placed the vegetative state patient in a machine like this one and asked her to imagine playing tennis at Wimbledon.
This is the brain of a healthy volunteer who's imagining playing a game of tennis. And this is the brain of our patient when we asked her to do exactly the same thing. And as you can see, the same area is activated in both.
With each task, researchers looked to specific parts of the brain involving speech processing or visualizing a walk through rooms of her house. Every time, her scans were indistinguishable from those healthy volunteers.
It's one patient in one study.
Dr. Joseph Fenn says there are about 25,000 vegetative patients in the United States, but says anywhere from 20 to 40% of them are misdiagnosed.
We have to be very cautious about generalizing her experience to all vegetative patients.
Like Terry Shivo, whose brain was deprived of oxygen after cardiac arrest.
This patient was still within the window of being able to move. This patient in the vegetative state is not Terry Shivo.
Shivo's type of injury had a much grimmer prognosis than that of the study subject, who suffered a traumatic brain injury from a car accident. Currently, there is no treatment for these patients, but doctors hope these scans may help earlier identify which patients have a better chance of recovery.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta joins us tonight from Atlanta with more on this woman's story. Sanjay, is the woman doing any better now than she was? What's her condition?
She is doing better. It won't sound like a lot different, but you know, those scans that you just saw were about 5 months after her accident. Now 11 months after her accident, she actually will fixate on a mirror that's held off to the right side of her head at about this angle. What exactly that means in terms of her brain function or her prognosis is hard to say, but she does appear to be graduating from the vegetative state to the minimally conscious state, John.
Well, that is remarkable in and of itself. You mentioned Terry Shivo. Did she ever have one of these scans, and does brain activity mean that a patient's got a better prognosis?
It's a good question, and I don't know for sure that she had one of these functional MRI scans. My guess is no. A couple of things about that. One is that it's hard to prove a negative, and what I mean by that is that if you have the scan and it doesn't show activity, it does not mean that there is no awareness, and that's an important point. But also, Terry Shivo's situation and this 23-year-old woman's situation, very different. Terry Shivo had what's called an anoxic brain injury. Her brain went for a long time without any oxygen supply. This woman was a trauma. Also, this woman's brain function also appeared to be within the window of being able to improve. She could graduate, if you will, from one state to another. Terry Shivo, as you know, John, many years in that state with no significant or a discernible improvement. So some very different situations.
So what's going to happen now, Sanjay? Are doctors around the world going to run out and find these vegetative patients and put them in a functional MRI machine just to see if their brain does light up or not?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen quite yet. And there's some controversy about this because this is just one patient so far that's had this happen. It's exciting, though, nonetheless, and I don't say that to belittle this at all. A couple of things that will probably happen. One is this may start to get used as a prognosticator, meaning that if someone is in a coma, they may do one of these tests to sort of give them an idea of how they're going to do in the future. But also what's, I think, incredibly exciting, John, is that the idea that you might have someone who's in a persistent vegetative state and start asking them yes-no questions and they answer with their brain, and you're somehow able to record that with the functional MRI. So in a way, they're communicating with you through their brain scans. It's far off in the future, but this is the way the researchers are thinking.
All right, thanks, Sanjay. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
And of course, Sanjay Gupta is our resident neurosurgeon. This Sunday night, don't miss Sanjay's special Genius Quest for Extreme Brain Power. He looks at what's unique about the brains of highly intelligent people. None of them in this room. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, here on CNN. Tonight, though, back to the war. The wars in Afghanistan.